Hello there. Welcome back. Sure has been a while, hasn't it? Apologies for the lack of uploads lately. The projects I'm working on turned out to be a little bit more difficult, to say the least. But don't you worry. I'm still working hard on them, and I plan to have them out relatively soon, especially now that the weather is getting warmer. But anyway, let us focus on today's story while I got you here. What happens when insects fall from the stars? Only for it to be discovered that they may not be as innocent as they claim. Join me as we get into this tale together, and to see if the main character can unravel the mysteries of these strange insects. Grab your snacks, get comfortable, and let's get spooky.
When I started my road trip, I never expected to find myself caught up in a local conspiracy. I'm writing this out both to share what I found in the small town of Drexelton, and to see if anyone else has had any similar experiences there. I'm left to ponder my own thoughts, as I'm still unsure as to what exactly I experienced. Everything that I'm about to write is information I got from other sources, and while I never actually saw anything, the recent discovery of a new planet that scientists believe could sustain life has me believing these stories all the more. When I arrived in Drexelton, I was both tired from driving and extremely hungry. The sun was beginning to set and some slight rain began to roll in. The first odd thing I noticed was the townsfolk. Nearly every single person I drove by were waving with a friendly smile, and those that didn't simply refused to look my way. I was uneasy, admittedly, as they would stop dead in their tracks just to smile and wave at me, but I told myself that they were probably just really welcoming to newcomers. After a few minutes, I saw a small diner and figured this would be the best place to stop to get some food. Walking toward the entrance, several people came up to me to welcome me to their town. I was really surprised on how quickly people were comfortable with talking to a complete stranger. They left me alone and I was free to enter the diner, in which everyone inside turned to wave at me. All except for one man. I saw that he sat alone at the end of the diner, in one of those booths. I was then approached by the waiter. "Hello, sir. So sorry for the wait. What brings you in tonight? Dinner, directions, or drinks?" He asked with an overly friendly smile. "Some food sounds good. Can I sit anywhere there's space?" "Oh, absolutely. Any empty booth or seat is yours for tonight's meal. But if you would like some company, feel free to sit with any of our amazing residents." His smile began to fade a little as he started again. "Although, I wouldn't sit next to that gentleman down there." He pointed using his eyes. I followed his gaze without moving, as to not make it obvious we were staring. We were looking at the man that sat alone. "He's a bit of a downer, and a little goofy in the head." The young waiter chuckled a bit. Honestly, the lonely man seemed to be the only normal one in here. "Well, I'll give him a shot. Maybe I can use some of my newcomer charm to lift his spirits, eh?" I nudged him jokingly, but the waiter wasn't amused. He shrugged and then asked me what my order was. I glanced at the menu at the front counter and ordered a standard cheeseburger with fries. "Alright, we'll bring your food out in just a few minutes. But if that man gives you any trouble, you let us know, okay?" I nodded and went to go take my seat. Maybe it was just my imagination because I was so hungry and tired, but it seemed like the waiter didn't blink one time. As I sat down, I saw the man was stirring his drink. What it was, I couldn't really tell. He never looked over at me. Instead, he stared out the window as the rain came down harder. Hello, sir. My name's Aiden. Sorry to bother you, but I saw you sitting alone and make your visit here a short one," he whispered, not even glancing over at me. Ooh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't want any trouble. I can move to another booth if you want. No, make your visit in Drexelton a short one. I paused, and we sat in silence for a few seconds before I leaned in. Something is wrong with this town, isn't there? I've never known locals to be so friendly to outside visitors. All of this is just a little uncanny, I whispered. He began to chuckle slightly. It's more than just a little uncanny. I wonder if I should tell you. He finally looked at me. I put him around 40 years old. He still had a full head of hair, though graying, and his wrinkles gave off the impression that they arose from stress rather than old age. He seemed relatively fit and had a bushy mustache. His eyes revealed that he may not have gotten much sleep the last few days. Will you call me crazy like the others did? Laugh at old man Edmonds and his crazy story, eh? Why even bother telling you? He stared at me, waiting for a response. Well, I can't say that I will or won't believe you, but I'm planning on sitting here for my meal, so we might as well discuss it. He smirked a little at my statement. You seem like a good kid, so I'll tell you. If only to scare you enough to leave this place as soon as possible. He stopped abruptly, changing the subject to one I didn't recognize. I told you, just because I'm old doesn't mean I know how to play chess. I'll only play cards, I tell ya. He adopted an odd accent, and I honestly thought he was crazy. That was until I heard a voice beside me. Here's your meal, sir. I hope you're enjoying the company you chose. I nodded in response, and the waiter turned and walked away. I finally picked up on what this old man was trying to do. For whatever reason, he doesn't want the others hearing him tell me what's up with this town. Clearly, based on how quickly he changed the topics, he's done this before. He motioned for me to eat my food before clearing his throat. Only a few months ago it happened. One damn night, everything I knew changed. He began to tell his story. I had gone out for a few drinks with my friends one night. We all were pretty buzzed, but we lived close by, so we wanted to walk home instead of ordering a ride. The streets were empty and quiet, all except for our loud chatter and laughter. When we went our separate ways, I wanted to enjoy the cool night breeze just a little longer. That's when I saw it. A bright flash of light that shot through the sky and landed in a nearby park. To this day, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to go check it out. God, I wish I never would have went there. I wish I just would have went home that night. I pushed through the thick brush and avoided getting smacked by the tree's branches. Before long, the thing that fell from the sky was before me. It was a meteor. Smoke was still coming off of it, and the surrounding area was singed, but not enough for a fire to start. First thing I noticed was that the meteor was cracked open. I immediately took out my phone to shine a light within. I saw there were several indentations, as if something had been resting in these slots. I began to text my friend, Greg, hoping he didn't fall asleep. I don't even think he'd be sober enough to help me. Just then, I heard a strange buzzing. It sounded like the buzzing of a wasp, but louder. It was coming up from behind me, and fast. I turned around to see what the cause of it was, and I quickly got my answer. I caught only a glimpse of it, but an unknown type of insect was flying right towards me. It was the largest insect I've ever seen, being roughly the size of a squirrel or a ferret. Its mandibles were open as it came within inches from my face. I ducked down and tried to find something to defend myself. All the while, I was trying to hold my light up as to not lose this strange creature in the surrounding darkness. I managed to find a sizable rock. Now I just had to get a good swing in. The buzzing was all around me, as if it was trying to wait for a moment to strike. I turned to see it for a second, as it flew behind me and latched itself into my back.
I let out a loud scream of pain and terror as I realized it was climbing up toward my head. I acted quickly and ran towards a tree, and just as I reached it, I spun around and launched myself against the tree as hard as I could, crushing the bug between the bark and my backside. My back felt wet, but I didn't know if that was coming from my own blood or the blood of the now crushed body of the insect. The slam left me in immense pain, along with the cuts the bug made. I walked forward a bit and turned around. Shining a light, I saw the mangled body of this strange creature. It began to twitch and move, so I made sure to finish the job. I slammed the rock down on the body as hard as I could until there was no more movement. It took me a few minutes to get my bearings, and once things calmed down, I began to think about my options. Did this strange insect come from that meteor? Was it the only one? Who would I go to? Who would I tell? The body slowly started to dissolve, and before I could take a photo, all that was left was a strange dark orange puddle of its blood. I did at least take a photo of the meteor. I ultimately decided to go to Greg's house and hope that he was sober enough to help me. I knocked on his door several times, so loud that I was sure that I was disturbing his neighbors. I didn't hear any movement from the other side for a while, but suddenly, I heard his footsteps. The lock was released and Greg swung open the door.
What are you doing here? Go home, man.
He said in a tired voice. Listen to me. Something just went down a few minutes ago. I need to come in and talk to you right now. He sighed and he let me into his home. As I made myself comfortable, I noticed something odd. One of his windows was slightly open, and all the other ones were closed and locked, so why was this one left ajar? My train of thought was interrupted as Greg sat down across from me.
Alright, hurry up and do what you gotta do and leave. I'm tired.
I'll be quick. So, after you guys went home, I kept walking, and once I got near the park, I saw something. I pulled out my phone and showed him the picture. What is that? His eyes grew wide with shock. A meteor. It landed near me and I went to go check it out. The space rock wasn't the only thing there, though. I found a damn alien. Greg seemed both scared and surprised. He stared at my phone for a minute.
So, what happened?
I managed to kill it. It was this weird bug alien, but the body dissolved and I couldn't get a picture quick enough.
Oh.
We sat in silence for a few minutes before he spoke up again.
Do you think there's more of them?
I'm not sure. There were more indentations that were about the size of the bug. Assuming each slot had an alien in it, there could be 3 more. I had no idea if I was right, though I found out later that I was indeed correct.
Edmonds paused to take a sip of his drink. This was a really crazy story I was hearing. I began to shove some of my meal into my mouth before asking him any questions. Aliens, huh? That why this town is so weird? I asked with a chuckle. He shot an angry glare at me.
I knew you wouldn't believe me. You're just like those other tourists. Those others that didn't take me seriously. Where are they now, huh? Take the waiter, for example. Nice young lad, right? Tell me something. Why was a young man that just arrived in our town a few weeks ago working at our local diner? A young man who was only here because he needed to pass through our town to get to the next state over. He stayed at the hotel downtown, and the next damn day, he's working at the diner.
Paused for several moments. At first, his story seemed crazy, but was he telling the truth about the waiter? It was odd how everyone acted, and this fact was the only reason I continued to entertain Edmund's story. Okay. Say I believe you. Is this whole town in on it? Did they blackmail the waiter into staying because he saw too much? I wish. What happened was that he was replaced. Replaced? I asked. I found out what these aliens were a few days after the initial discovery, Edmund said with a shaky voice as he went back into his story. I hadn't heard from Greg after that night, nor did I find any more insects. I was beginning to grow paranoid as any time I heard a loud buzzing, I thought for sure it was one of them. I decided to visit Greg and talk with him about everything, even considered moving towns. God, I wish I did. I should have just moved and never looked back. Then, I wouldn't be here to warn others of what's really happening. When I got to Greg's house, I knocked several times only to be met with silence. Calling his phone was only leading to voicemail. So eventually I tried the knob and, surprisingly, it was unlocked. The house was dead silent. The air felt wrong somehow. I called out to him a few more times until I came across his basement door. I noticed it wasn't closed all the way. There seemed to be a trail of what looked like vomit going down. It continued to the end of the staircase. I pulled my phone out and began to descend. Shining my light around, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary at first. I had reached the bottom of the steps when I heard a noise of something shuffling around in the darkness. I got closer to where I thought the noise was coming from, and I called out one last time. Just then, a loud buzzing emerged from the silence. I panicked and desperately tried to flee back toward the stairs. My escape was cut short, however, as I tripped on some unseen object, sending both me and my only light source to the ground. Once I composed myself, I noticed that the buzzing had stopped, and I saw that my phone had slid a few feet away from me with the light facing up. I started to crawl toward my phone to shine the light once again, but stopped when I heard a familiar voice. "Leave the light. Let's talk." A voice whispered from the darkness. It was Greg's voice, but very different. It was like he was gargling some liquid while speaking, but was still coherent. Greg? I called back. "Edmonds, I was wondering when you would pay me a visit. We have much to discuss." I could only lay there as he spoke before I could respond. "We misunderstand the aliens. They aren't here to bring us harm. They're simply refugees on the run. You can empathize with that, right?" I suppose so. But if that's true, then why did the one attack me? I felt a sudden urge to run, but Greg seemed to have answers somehow, and I wanted to know them. Did they find him and simply tell him these things? All of my questions would soon be answered. "Scared. They landed on our planet. Their names are the Zelgrith. They come from an undiscovered planet outside of our solar system. As stated before, they're refugees on the run from a race of brain-like creatures that seek to wipe us all out." Us? As in the human race? Are these bugs potentially our allies amongst the stars? "Unfortunately, the Zelgrith need humans to aid them. They need to grow their numbers and mature before they can leave our planet." "What do you mean, grow their numbers?" I asked, scared of what the answer would be. "They feed off knowledge, you see. They enter the body and make their way towards the brain, and feed off that person's memories and intelligence, getting all the information that person has learned in their life. Sadly, when it comes time for them to mature, their size causes them to burst from the skull,
seek out more brains to consume and grow until adulthood. At that point, once their numbers are increased and they reach the proper age, they will promptly leave our planet. I felt sick. I nearly puked all over myself. You made it sound like they don't mean to harm us, but it sounds like they want to kill and consume us. My tone grew angrier. Why was Greg so nonchalant about this? They don't mean us intentional harm, but some must be sacrificed to help them leave. You must understand this. I didn't understand, and I didn't want to. I swiftly got up and ran toward my phone. When I went to shine the area where the voice was coming from, something else caught my eye. The object that tripped me was a body. It was Greg, or what remained of him. His body laid there, seemingly untouched except for his head. His head was split open, gore from his skull and skin scattered across the floor near him. I got sick, and once I collected myself, I heard the voice again. It sounded like what I could only describe as someone trying and failing to laugh for the first time. I began to piece together what happened. Greg was a victim of one of these bugs. But then, who was I talking to? My hands began to shake as I shined the light towards the hideous laughing. To this day, I still can't believe what I saw. The head was like that of a fly, but much larger. Two large, red, insect-like eyes on each side of its face, with two smaller red eyes resting in its center. They stared lifelessly at me. It had two mandibles slightly covering its mouth, and had several rows of sharp teeth, which were revealed as it tried to laugh. It had what looked like fungus growing from its slimy green back, going all the way down to its tail. It stood on long, crab-like legs, which I could only count 4 in total. Its wings were also just like that of a fly, but longer. At the end of its tail, it also had similar wing-like fans that flickered occasionally. It began to speak to me again. Don't be frightened. I don't wish to harm you, only to educate you. We have no need for the intelligence of human beings, but your race allows us to be efficient with procreation of our species. However, we, as a sign of good faith, wish to work with you. You humans will bring us brains from animals so that we can grow and leave your planet quicker. We only needed human subjects to feed off initially so that we may communicate. Please try to understand. I wanted nothing more than to run out of there and never look back. I was just so paralyzed with fear that I could do nothing but stand there and listen to the alien speak. You will be allowed to live so long as you keep quiet. Not that anyone would believe you. If you try to go public with this, though, you will be used as a host rather than an accomplice. Most of the people in this town are on our side. We hope that you will be too. With that, it allowed me to leave. I was in shock for the next couple of days. That's when the overly nice behavior from everyone began to take over the town. I stayed quiet for a few weeks. Then I decided that I would try to warn as many people as I could that come through our town. The waiter must have found something he wasn't supposed to see. Now he's being used as a host. Won't be long now before the alien inside bursts out. Don't you see? This town is a cult, and they serve these aliens. Now there's talk of a new planet being discovered. No doubt the aliens want to establish an official connection with us for them to mass produce.
Edmonds paused and looked behind me. His eyes grew wide with fear. I glanced back to see two officers talking to the waiter, pointing at us.
Get out of here, son. Don't you dare give this town a second thought. Live out your life and pray that you die before the inevitable invasion.
He screamed this as he tried to escape the diner. The officers quickly subdued the old man and promptly took him away. The waiter approached me. I am so sorry that you had to see that, sir. Edmonds lost his wife in a fire last month and hasn't quite been the same. He's had outbursts before, but nothing like this. I hope you enjoyed your food, though. Might I suggest turning into the local hotel? It's getting dark out, and I'd hate to have you driving home at night. He said this with an unusual smile. I definitely will. I hate night driving. I was lying, of course. I had no idea if Edmonds was telling the truth or if he was really just a crazy old man. So I came to the conclusion that this whole town was nuts, and that I was going to make myself scarce. The waiter seemed to buy my lie, and I quickly sped out of that town. It's been a few days since my visit there. I decided that it might be worth it to share my experience online and try to see if anyone else has had a similar interaction with Drexelton. The planet that Edmonds was hinting at was all over the news. Scientists who discovered it say that it actually might have life on it. Suddenly, this story seems a little less crazy. Still don't know if I fully believe him though, but even as I type this out, I can hear a faint noise outside my window. I can't quite make out as to what exactly it is, but it sounds oddly like buzzing.
Ooh, hopefully the insects didn't get him. Although I do wonder what will happen when we discover a new planet. Will they be friendly, or will they use us for their own personal gain? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed tonight's story. As I said, I still have some projects in the works that I hope to have done soon, similar to my Nemesis video. One will be on Slender Man, his history, and fall from grace. The second being based on the Ghost Stories anime, and to watch the original Japanese dub to see if it's actually good, or if it was always doomed to its now infamous reputation. So look forward to those within the next few weeks. Thank you for joining me tonight. And remember, folks, to stay spooky. Thank you again so much for watching. Like I said, I have a few more projects coming out, so hopefully they won't be too much longer. The Slenderman one, I want to do a skit out in the woods, and unfortunately it's really cold and windy, and obviously I don't want to do that when freeze to death out there. But once it gets warmer, I'll try to film that skit, and like I said, it will kind of be a brief rundown on the history, like what happened to him, why he's not as big as he used to be, and also the second half of the video will be kind of just talking about the game Slender, the Arrival. So that's something to look forward to. And also, like I said, the Ghost Stories video is a lot more done than the Slenderman one. The script is almost finished with that. And I'm really excited because that's a topic that I've been kind of wanting to kind of discuss if like that anime was always kind of doomed to have that, outrageous dub, or was there actually something there that it could have like worked if it was played a little bit more straight. So it just kind of like a little deep dive into that. After those, though, I also had a request from somebody who left a comment, and I will try to look into that as well. So if you're watching, don't worry, I have not forgotten. So hopefully that can also be done too, because um, it would be my first viewer submitted request, and I thought that was really cool. Just thank you again so much for all the support, those that left comments, the likes. It really is awesome. And when I started off, I only got like 10 to 15 views on my few stories, so I don't know. It's kind of like surreal. So I definitely am happy. So thank you so much for anyone who's clicked on my videos and watched them. It means a lot. So with that, I'll leave you all. I hope you have a good day or good night, depending on when you're watching this. And as always, remember to stay spooky.